All right, then it is 2 p.m. right now. A very warm welcome to everyone who joined earlier, and thank you everyone for joining me today again for another session of the Amazon Live webinar session. Now, today we'll be covering on what you need to prepare before listing your first product. All right, and then together with me, I have Yijie who will join me later on for the Q&A session, who is an account manager with Amazon Global Selling for a couple of years. And then myself is Chin Lang, and I'm the trainer here in Amazon Seller Education team. All right, so if all good now, I'm going to start now. Any point of time, if you have any questions, do let me know, let us know in the Q&A, and then we will address it before we end the session, okay? All right, so just to give a quick introduction, Amazon Seller Education, the team that I'm in, actually provide free education and training through a variety of learning programs. So I'm sure everybody knows about Amazon Seller University, where you can get a lot of the long guides that you get on Seller Central as well as on the website as well. And then for Amazon Live webinar, which is the one that you're attending right now, is something that we started this year. And then going forward, we will have a couple of webinars every month to cater for seller of a different level, whether you're a new seller or existing seller. So we hope that there will be any of those topics that is relevant to you. So you are also free to propose any topics that you see is not in our live webinar, and then we will be more than happy to create those trainings for you. All right, so the session right now is recorded, and then I will share the recording probably before the end of the week. All right, so not to worry. And then if you have any question, let me know in the Q&A box. And last but not least, if you happen to watch this video on our official YouTube channel, remember to always search for the latest video so that you get the most updated information. And then if not, you can always go on to Seller University or Seller Central Help for the most updated information now, especially for information like policy, etc. It's best to look at the latest information. All right, some important notice for everyone. So this is what we'll be covering today. Right now, first, to start off, what is the preparation that you need before creating your listing? I'll go through some of the basics. First one is regarding product compliance. So what is product compliance over here? So it means that your buyers should be able to find a variety of safe, reliable, and compliant product offered by all sellers on Amazon's marketplaces. All right, so these are just the things you should know of. That includes product safety, whether or not it's legal in the country that you're going to sell the product, and in terms of how the product is being transported and whether it's compliant for it to be traded across the different region in terms of the import, transport, and production, etc. So these are some of the product compliance information. We have restricted product and then product that is prohibited. And then for FBA, for those who are using fulfillment by Amazon, there are also some products that is prohibited as well. All right, and there are also categories that require different approvals. So there is a link at there's a link here that I share, which I will also share in the video description when I upload the videos for you to go into more details, because there's a lot of information regarding what are the products that is allowed or not allowed to sell. All right, so these are the common US market regulations. All right, for those that need approval, these are the regulatory requirements that you need to seek from to get approval from these regulatory to get it in order to list your products. All right. So for example, things like food and medical, you might need the FDA approval, etc. Right, another thing I want to share is the product identifier that you need to get yourself prepared with this information. So these are what we call the product ID, or it's called GTIN, Global Trade Item Code. Right, so these are the common code that is being used on Amazon, whereby you are required to put in when you are listing your product, except for some situation you may not need, which I will share as well. So you need either a UPC or ISBN, EAN or JAN. And make sure that you get this product number from GS1. So basically GS1 is the entity that kind of store all the global ID of all the products globally. So you should go to the website. You can search for GS1 to actually get the product ID number there. And make sure you get it from GS1 and not some other sources, because when you put in the number, Amazon will actually verify the authenticity of the product ID against the GS1 database. So any info that is not matching will actually cause an issue with your listing. So your listing may not get approved, etc. All right, so make sure that you obtain your product ID directly from GS1. Right. So there are some cases where you can get a GTIN exemptions, meaning that you may not need to put in the product ID. So in these cases, right, you can request for a exemption, a GTIN exemption. Right. But first of all, you need to check first whether the product that you want to list, is it already existing? So if the product that you want to sell on Amazon is already an existing product, then you can just add on your offer on the existing product detail page without a GTIN. All right. So if you are going to list something that is not an existing product on Amazon.com, then you will need to request for a GTIN exemption if you do not or not required to have a product ID. Right. So over here, there are some examples or rather situations that you can apply for GTIN exemption. Okay, now the first one is you want to sell a product, right, which the brand or the manufacturer or the publisher do not have a GTIN by default. So for example, like private label product or handmade product, those products usually do not have a product ID. Then you can apply for a GTIN exemption. Our second example is you are selling product whereby you yourself is the manufacturer, is the brand or the publisher, and then you do not have barcodes on your product. For example, you are selling a private label product or handmade product. Or it is similar to the example one. Now the third example is if you are going to sell products part that do not have a GTIN. Example will be things like mobile accessories or even automotive parts, something like that. So you can apply GTIN exemption. And the last but not least is if you are selling a bundle pack of more than one product, all right, then you will not need to have a GTIN as well. So this is just a screenshot to show you how you can actually get a GTIN exemption. All right. Okay. So over here, there's an option here. Yeah. If you know that your product is something that's not on Amazon, you can click on adding a product that's not sold on Amazon. Right, and on the next page, you will usually be required to key in or search for the category that you're going to list your product on. Right, so over here, once you select that product category, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on here, and you can see there's an option here. So during the product identity tab, you will be able to see on the product ID that you are required to put in, and you can select that option here that says I don't have a product ID. All right, and then there'll be an option that says a GTIN exemption is required. Then you click on the apply now. So once you click on the apply now, this is the part that you apply for the GTIN exemption. So you ask for some information like this. Now this question may differ depending on the product category, right? But in general, the step will be after you click on apply now, it will ask you for some questions just to, evaluate the exemption. Is it required? All right. So once you click on submit, then usually it will be exempted, or it will take maybe a few minutes, or depending on what is the product that you need to request for GTIN exemption. All right, moving on regarding the brand name policy. So in Amazon, we have something called a brand name policy. So this policy kind of explain how to use the brand attribute on your product, on your ASIN. All right, the brand attribute on a listing should match the name of the brand that produced the product. All right, so this is something to take note of as well. Now, if you are listing something that is a non-branded product, you can use generic in the brand attribute. So I think now the listing page has been kind of improved. So whenever you click on this doesn't have a brand, I think on the previous page, right? I can show you where's the brand portion. I think over here, yeah. So you can see the brand name here. All right, so if you do not have a registered brand, all right, or if you're not selling something that is branded, you will check on this box. This product does not have a brand name. All right, once you click on this checkbox, it will usually become generic on the brand name. That's basically what it meant. So you might be wondering what is a brand. So a brand in Amazon terms, what it considered to be a brand is that the brand name actually represent a product or a set of product, and then they will products from the same brand will share a common name, logo, or other identifying mark that appear on the product or its packaging. All right. So this is something you can think about, like a workflow when you start to list your product, right? To know whether or not you should use a brand name. Now, first of all, you should think whether or not the product itself is it clearly branded. All right, is there a brand name on the product that you want to sell? All right, if there's no, it means it's a generic product. You can either enter generic, or as I mentioned earlier on now, I think the listing process has changed that once you check on the box that it says no brand, it will be populated by generic. Now, next one is if you're selling a product that is clearly that is branded, all right, then you might need to follow on to list the product. And then if you do not see any error, you can list the product normally. Right now, if you see any of the error, there will usually be some error code that pop up. You need to either resolve it or you can contact the seller's support for more information. All right, so usually if it's a branded product and there's no error, means that you do not require any additional approval to sell that particular brand. All right, these are the common errors that you may see when you list your product. All right, now 5661, if you see this error code, it means that you might not be, or rather, your brand, you're using something that is not complying with the brand name policy. And then for error code 5664, it means that you might be listing a generic product, all right, but then you're not using generic as the brand name. All right, so you might not see this often since, when you check the box, the generic name should be auto-filled already. All right, so if you see 5665, then it means that Amazon will need to approve the brand before you can use this in your product listing. So if all this doesn't apply for you, right, then you can file a support ticket with the selling partner support and provide the whatever error code that you see for them to advise further, all right? So if you really have to contact seller support, these are the information that you should provide for them. Now, first one is, of course, the name of the brand that you use when you're creating the product, all right? And then second, if applicable, you should also provide the images of the product or the packaging or both. So it has to show something that is permanently fixed branding, meaning that's you can't use sticker to submit the information regarding your product. All right, and the name, exact packaging, etc., should match the brand name that you are using when you're creating the listing. All right, so if you are using an inventory file template to list or to upload your listing, you should also provide the batch ID of the inventory file process report. So these are the key information to take note when you want to contact the seller support regarding any of the listing issue that you may face when you are doing any of your product listing. So again, to make sure that you understand here is that the brand name should be printed on the packaging. All right, sticker is not considered as a permanent fixed branding. Do take note of this. Okay, now I'm moving on to the section 2. All right, to actually prepare or to give you an understanding of what is the different components to have a complete listing. All right, these are the 8 key components that we have. The title, the product image, bullet point, description, search term, A+ content for the brand owners, seller who are enrolled under Amazon brand registry, and also the brand name as well as the browse note. All right, the first one, which is the product title, I'm going to go through. Yep. So product title actually help buyers to make informed purchasing decision faster. Also help to build your brand. All right. This is usually the most intuitive and the clearest part of conveying your brand, your product or model or any information about your product. It tells your customer what the product is and what it does, and is usually shown at the upper right of the listing and the product page in the shopping result as well. So the product title is like the name of the store and the product at a brick and mortar store. And the well-informed product title will help your customer make informed purchasing decision faster. And it will also affect your exposure and the click-through rate as well. Well, these are the requirements. I won't go through to details. You can rewatch it, the videos. Now, the next part is regarding the product images. All right, so the product images will have your main image and your alternate images. The main image is very important because this is displayed in the search result and during the browsing of the product as well. So every product you might know now in Amazon actually require one or more product images. The main image is displayed, again, like I mentioned, in the shopping result and the browsing page. This is also the part where your impression of your product usually comes from, is the main image. So the quality of the main image will actually significantly impact your click-through rate of your product. Especially important to have high quality images. Right, these are the image requirement as well. You can take a look. I will also share the link on the video description on what is the product image requirements. Right, the next one is the bullet points. So the bullet point is to highlight important or the unique selling point of your product. So customer rely on the product point to bullet point to understand the important product characteristic. And then it's also recommended to use up to 5 bullet points to describe your product. So using this information, it's important to highlight the special or the important feature of your product. And then we do have data that shows that well-written bullet points helps to improve sales. And they also try to differentiate the product from other similar product by conveying the main function and selling point of the products. So do make sure that you create, easy to understand and the unique characteristic of your products over here. And these are the requirements for the bullet points. Right, note that there are some words that you should not include, like clearance sale or limited time offer. Right, and then do not include other sensitive comments such as great value or best seller of the year. Right, this one is regarding the brand of the product that you're selling. Right, most of the time, if you have a product that has a brand, when you key in, it should appear over here during the listing process. So the next part is when you scroll down a little bit more, you can see the product description. So this is the part where you will go into slightly greater detail. All right, so the detailed description should supplement the bullet points. It should not just add more details about the product function. So this description part should be more specific and more detailed than the bullet points, more like writing a copy. All right, so a quick tip is to always put yourself in the customer's shoes. You know, what do you want to feel and think and touch and receive regarding the product? So providing information about the product experience and how to use and what are the benefit will capture your customer's imagination, allow you to provide a shopping experience that is close to, you know, as shopping on the store as well. All right, these are the requirements for product description. Right, the next part I want to share is regarding the A+ content. So if you are enrolled under Amazon Brand Registry, you will be able to unlock this feature. All right, you can put in rich text and information for your product listing. This actually helps to enhance the effectiveness of your product through a combination of image, text, all right, to help better convey specific requirements of your different product characteristics or appeal. All right, so again, to use this, you have to be enrolled under Amazon Brand Registry, meaning that you need to have a trademark, a pending trademark or existing trademark that you can use to enroll under the Amazon Brand Registry. It will allow you to unlock this A+ content listing feature. All right, this is the requirement for A+ content. Okay, the next one to cover is regarding the search term. Right, so these search terms will be used in order when the seller, or rather when the customer is searching for your product or searching for any product on Amazon.com. If you have an accurate and meaningful search term, it will help to increase the chances of your product being found or appearing in the search results. All right, so providing relevant and specific information for your product under the search term can give your product better visibility and sales as well. All right, you can have multiple search terms when you're trying to input, so you can separate each search term with a space. All right, this is the requirement for the search term. Right, the next thing, or rather the last one, is regarding the browse node. So this is what I always, like to keep it simple. It's more like a filter that's available for the customer when they are shopping on Amazon.com. So how this will appear is when you are putting in your listing, there is a lot of fields that you are required to input. So some are optional ones and some are the compulsory field that you need to put it in. Right, so if you have those information put in during the listing phase, they will appear here to allow further narrow down the search by selecting the specific product categories, etc. All right, so do make sure that you actually have those informations in your listing so that your customer can actually search for the different category and filter accordingly when they are shopping on Amazon.com. Right, this is the part I want to share regarding listing completeness score. So this is more like a guidance that we actually share with the seller. So you can take this to kind of evaluate your listing. So for each of the uh, element that you use that I shared earlier on, you can give yourself like a scoring attribute, like 10 points if you actually use the browse node, or 20 points if you have a search term listed in your listing, etc. Right? So we always recommend seller to have at least 80 points as their benchmark. So 80 to 100 means that most of the core attributes are present, which is great. So it's actually a grade A that we see over here, a listing completeness score. Right, so this has nothing to do with anything on the back end. It's more for seller to have a way to benchmark themselves in terms of their listing to get a score of 80 to 100 if possible. Right, this is also to show you the cycle of having a good good completeness of your listing. It will continue to help you attract more internal and external traffic and to improve your conversion as well. These are some data that we have internally that we see. Right, for the listing with a 8 grade, meaning that they have a score of at least 80. In general, the order volume is much more than the rest of the listing, which is not complete, meaning that they are from grade B to E. So you can see, having a good, listing with A grade will actually bring in more order in the long run. All right, the third part I want to share is regarding the listing compliance. So when you're putting in your listing, right, sometimes you may see that your listing is getting suppressed on the listing status. So this means that the listing will not appear, right? If the listing is suppressed, it will not appear in the product search result due to quality issues of your listing. So always try to fix the listing issue that you encounter to prevent it from being suppressed. Well, these are some examples to avoid getting your listing suppressed. Right, so sometimes if you put out a listing, if your main image is missing, it will be suppressed, or there are some other key attribute that is missing, such as the bullet points, product description, etc. It will also be suppressed. Right. So I think now this may happen less likely because I think the listing feature has improved across. You may not be able to save the listing nowadays if you do not have most of this information. Yeah. Right. So these are some other example as well. Right. If you're listing in, like, for example, in category of shoes, if you do not have a size value, etc., it will also be suppressed. Same for images. If it's not compliant, in terms of your alternate images, it may also be suppressed. And then you can see for different category, there is different requirements for the image. All right, these are some example that I want to go through with you. You can see the one on top and the one below. So you may know by now that all the listing on Amazon.com needs to have a white background as the main image. So anything that is not white, having a white background will be suppressed usually. Well, the next example is you can see that certain graphics is not allowed. It may cause the suppression of your listing as well. Well, this is also an example to always show the product in the form that you are selling, meaning that if you're only selling one luggage, you should not show three unless your listing is selling three luggages. All right, same for the clothing, etc. And this one, for the apparel category, you can only use models if you're selling in the apparel category. If not, right, the rest of the listing should only show the product itself. But this is also an example, right, that you should not show any other packaging or text that is not part of the products. Right, this is also an example of non-compliant images. You should not have any extra product or accessories that is not part of your product that you are selling. Right, the last example I want to show is regarding cropping, right? So for the cropping wise, you can see that you are not supposed to actually crop the image until you can't really tell what is the full, or rather how the full item actually looks like. Right, the product should always be shown in full whenever possible, so that seller, buyer who are buying the product actually knows what product they are buying and not a missing part that they may not know due to the cropping. All right, I've come to almost the end. Just want to share the key takeaway if you join halfway through. All right, the things to note is the product compliance and product safety. Knowing that what are the products that when you want to sell actually needs the approval before you can list it, and then to also find out whether or not your product needs to have a product ID and how you can do your GT exemption if applicable. All right, and also the components of a product completeness and the requirements for the different elements that is required in the product listing, and also avoid how to get your listing suppressed. Or before we end, just want to share, this is also a part where you can find more information in Seller University. If you already have access to Seller Central, you can go to the tab under Learn and you can access Seller University. And for those who are also participating in the upcoming big sale, you can also download this one-pager guide that we have. I will share the link in the video description too, don't worry. All right, so I move on. There are some frequently asked questions I want to share with everyone. Right now, first one is, what if my product doesn't have a brand name? So like I mentioned earlier on, if your product do not have a brand name, you can use the generic as the brand name. All right, so you do not need to state the brand name in the title if it's generic. Right, next frequently asked question is, how do I know if my listing has been suppressed? You can go to the manage inventory page. You can click on the suppress to see your suppressed listing. There's a filter there actually. The next one is, if another seller title is violating the title requirement and cause a product that I'm also selling to become unsearchable. So I think this happens if you are selling an item that's already on Amazon. So if you really have this issue, right, you can contact the seller support to request the title correction, right, assuming if the other seller have not corrected it. My next frequently question is, what are the requirements to sell gated or restricted products? So I will share some of the links that I shared earlier on, but it's always good to do your due diligence first, depending on the product that you want to list. Or another way is you might be able to do is you can list it first and then check under the compliance dashboard. So if certain product that needs to have another approval, it will appear in the account health page as well. Right, the next thing is, do I have to enroll my trademark while listing? So in short, right, it is not a must to enroll a trademark or to have enroll in the Amazon brand registry, but it is highly recommended. All right, because with the local trademark, you will be able to protect your brand. So in the event that you want to file any infringement, you will be able to do so if you are enrolled under the Amazon brand registry. But then do note that the trademark registration also takes some time. So do factor this in. And also the trademark is only is regional dependent, meaning that if you register in US, it's only applicable in the US. So do take all this into consideration when you're thinking whether or not do you want to enroll your trademark during the listing process, right? Okay, I move on to the Q&A part now. So I got a couple of questions from all of you when you guys put it in during the sign up, right? So if you actually put in like maybe in the afternoon today, I may have missed out those questions. So these are the questions I got right now. The first question is, I created my first listing and yet to prepare my shipping plan. However, I cannot see the price in my listing. Why? So I believe you mentioned that you can't see the price in your listing. Usually you should be able to see, but sometimes it takes a while. So if you just create it immediately if you go and see, it may not appear. So it takes sometimes a couple of minutes. It should appear. So if you have not prepared your shipping plan, it should appear as what do you call it? It should appear as out of stock or something like that, inactive, out of stock. Yeah, but you should be able to see the price that you put in already, right? So if you just list it, you give it a few minutes and then go and check it out on your managed inventory. Right, the next question is, how does one go about listing their product on Amazon? So I hope the earlier part give you a good idea of how to list your product. All right. So of course you got to prepare all those stuff that I mentioned beforehand. If not, you might get stuck along the way, and then you might need to save a draft. Right, that will actually take up more time. But if you can prepare all those information you have before listing your product, then you will save some time for you. Yep. Okay. If you have any follow-up questions, do let us know in the Q&A. All right. I actually have Yi here with me already. Thanks for joining. Yep. So let us know if you have any question. I saw one question on the Q&A. Let me read it out. Right. No worry. Yep. Okay. No worry. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. We're just clarifying some stuff. Yeah. So the first question I saw from Michael. Thanks for your question. Now, may I know why my listing on Amazon does not show the price? Oh, I think this might be the same question that was asked during the registration, right? Is it because it's still inactive, product yet to arrive at Amazon warehouse, or is there something else I need to do? So no, as far as I'm aware, right, once you have created a listing, after a while your price will show up actually, yeah, and then you will appear as inactive. Yeah, so there has no issue regarding whether your stock arrived or not. So you might want to refresh. Maybe after a couple more minutes, it should appear the price that you put there. Yep. All right, we will still be around for a couple of minutes. So let us know if you have any question. So I don't see any more questions already. Now we have other upcoming webinar, as you can see on the screen I'm sharing right now. So if you are interested in any of the topic, do join in. And we also have our upcoming in-person seller summit on 11 and 12. So if you're there, see you there. Yeah. So I think that's all we have. Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone, and thank you Itzia for joining. So if you have more questions, you can let us know now. If not, we're gonna end. Or if you have any other questions down the road, feel free to join any of our webinar, and then we can address those questions that you might have. All right. Oh yes, I saw one question. Thank you. So the question is, again from Makia, thank you. Do we have webinars for shipping plan preparation? So yes, actually we do have a webinar regarding how you can prep your products that you want to ship to the fulfillment center. Let me see. So yep, I think it's probably in one of the November or December one. We do have one regarding FBA introduction, if that's something you want to find out as well. If not, you can also search for the one of our previous recording. There is a webinar regarding how to prep your shipping. So that might give you some help and guidance. Hope that's something you need. All right, I hope that addressed your question. If not, let us know in the follow-up question. All right, we'll stay around for another 30 seconds. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So thank you everyone for your time. We will see you at the next live webinar. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.